Before we start the rest of the video, if there's anything you want to know about me, about videos, about filming, reviews, anything at all, make sure to jump to the timestamp on my topic of the week about my Q&A series because I think I'm trying something fun. Hey, I'm Alex Ratcliffe from Board Game Co, and this is News and Week in Review, going through, game news, general industry news, week in review, what I play, the topics, the videos, all the usual things, timestamps to everything in the description down below, and let's go ahead and get this one started. Starting off with news, game news, which has a variety of things, from companies, from announcements, from content creators, different things, starting off the bat with Village Attacks. Village Attacks from Grimlord Games, I believe it's the name. Yep, Grimlord Games. They have Grim Dynasty, Village Attacks, the expansion. They just announced kind of that, hey, state of global shipping is kind of in flux, and games will kind of eventually happen, but also we're just going to kind of wait it out and see how it goes, which I'm not saying that critically, genuinely not. You'll have a lot of people who will be critical, and I understand the reasons to be critical. The most basic reason will be, well, your campaign was delayed by 2 years, so it's your fault we even here if you would have shipped it. Honestly, I hear you, but also the state of the world is what it is. You probably know my opinion on this by now, which is, it's weird because, this is a tangent, but my entire channel started with being kind of anti-publisher, not really anti-publisher, just giving you advice on well, it doesn't make sense to get this at retail, wait there, don't buy that, don't buy this, really focusing on you protecting yourself, and that still remains true. It's just the world is crazy, and that changes my perspective on some degree of things. Either way, I'm not defending or attacking Grimlord Games in this context. I'm just saying that, hey, their game's delayed. This is another company, another impact, another continued aspect of the state of the world and how it affects companies, and it is what it is. Moving on from there, we have Dice Throne Christmas in July, and I know nothing about this. Nothing at all. I know what you know at this point. Honestly, by the time you watch this, you might know more than I do because, I don't imagine they have updates yet, but they might. This is Dice Throne Christmas in July. Don't know. What does it mean? Will they have Marvel announced, they're doing the next Dice Throne Marvel? I don't know. I don't know. I have no clue what's happening. I don't know if this is a game, a Kickstarter. I don't know if it's a bunch of people playing so you can enter a tournament. I have no clue what it is. But if you want to know more, July 5th, they're going to be going ahead and joining them for some sort of announcement, which I'll watch it. I got nothing. I got nothing. Do we have anything at all? Anything in the comments that I can see? I don't know. We're going to go ahead and move to the next one, Dice Throne Christmas in July. From there we have Steamforged Games. Now this is a big one. Steamforged Games has basically partnered with Dia Games to resurrect Euthia Torment of Resurrection. I guess that wording was probably intentional, but it just sounded weird when I said it. To resurrect Euthia Torment of Resurrection. Basically, Euthia, if you don't know, was a cancelled campaign that was doing tremendously well. It was probably one of the biggest surprises we've seen. For me personally, it was absolutely the biggest surprise I've seen in the crowdfunding space of a cancelled campaign, and I think for many people it was as well. Lots of conversations, questions, all that. A full announcement will be, you can check out the full announcement or whatnot. There's basically this on Twitter, and they link to their full announcement and all that stuff. I probably should have clicked on the full announcement. But in any case, the point is that Steamforged Games is in some way partnering with them and bringing it back to Kickstarter. When? I don't have that yet. Maybe it's in the full announcement. We'll take a look and see. But it's nice. For those of you who wanted Euthia, for those of you who wanted the expansion content, for those of you who want to see more, this is going to happen. Very cool news. Very surprising news, but very, very cool news. Then we have Crowdfunding Nerds. Crowdfunding Nerds, I did a podcast with them, and if you're getting a little bit of deja vu, that's because last week I made the same announcement, because last week I also did a podcast with them. I did 2 podcasts in a row with Crowdfunding Nerds. Last week's episode was about but the backer kit announcing that they're going into actual crowdfunding projects and not just pledge managers. You can check that one out if you want. I thought it was a fun conversation. You may or may not. This one is just an interview about me and my channel and how I got here, and different conversations from anything from, how many times do I review a game, how many times do I play a game before reviewing it, to how do I handle controversial topics, to any kind of conversation. They just ask questions. I answer those questions because that's what I tend to do. See my upcoming part of a Q&A series, which will be the topic of the week this week. Anyways, from there we have Come On announced that they are releasing the TTS for Cyberpunk 2077. If you've been wanting to try this game, if you're interested in Cyberpunk 2077 and you want to play it out, or even if you're more like me, if you're more of a lurker, you don't actually care at all about the TTS yourself, but you are happy that it's open, because then you can go on the Board Game Geek forums and see all the tintillating threads about the people who love and hate the game from having played it. That's what I was. I didn't really play TTS games when they had a TTS mod, but I was curious to be able to read the average Joe's opinion as opposed to the content creators, because I like both, but I do like getting the average Joe's opinion quite a bit. And so anyways, point is that Cyberpunk 2077 is having their mod released. So you can check it out, TTS. That will be, I assume you'll find Board Game Geek threads soon enough. Anyways, from there we have Marvel Zombies. More Come On news. This is over on King of Average's channel. I'm linking to the King of Average's video because he does go into it quite a bit. You can check out many sources if you want, and this is later in his video. Make sure to jump to the timestamp or watch the entire thing. But effectively, King of Average talked about the whole Marvel Zombies leak, where their Spin Master Games was a bit of a leak around the fact that there is going to be a Spin Master version of Marvel Zombies. It'll be totally different than your game, than the one you backed, but it will be much, much cheaper. So it's going to be much cheaper, have much more dialed down. You may feel betrayed, and you may want this, and you may be upset that this wasn't announced. I don't remember. I have to watch my own video. I remember at some point in some way referencing the fact that Spin Master was associated and would want something to sell at retail. I don't remember what I said. I kind of want to rewatch my video because I can't remember if I called something like this. I just can't remember. I remember I brought it up because I was like, Spin Master's going to want, the same way Spin Master had in every Walmart, they have their little Marvel United, they're going to want something similar. So I'm intrigued. I'm going to have to watch my video to see what I said. Anyways, point is that there is a leak in the sense that they are doing some sort of, I think there's like $50 for the MSRP if I'm not mistaken, for a much dialed down Marvel Zombies option, which is cheaper, easier to get, easier to table, and will not have the production value of the big box expensive versions. Which one do you want? That's up to you. Do you feel betrayed that they didn't announce this? Probably, yeah. It's the standard conversation at this point. But anyways, that is Marvel Zombies in case you wanted to find out more there, which brings us to game news. News versus game news is always a fine line. To me, game news is more announcements about new games or things like that, but there's often a fine line. Like, does this count as game news or news news? It's all semantics. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, speaking of news? No, game news. Game news, Puerto Rico 1897. They are announcing a new version of Puerto Rico. This has been in the works for quite some time. It's been talked about in some way, shape, or form. I know Jason Perez, Shelf Stories, was involved with the conversations around this game, and I believe working with Rio Grande on this. Is it Rio Grande? I think it's Rio Grande. I don't remember. Anyways, they announced Puerto Rico 1897. It's basically taking place in Puerto Rico at a later point in history. Supposedly, there are no gameplay changes to the game. They're just thematic changes so that it's not taking place in the age of slavery, and so that is a new way to approach the same game. And that's basically it. If you like it, you can get it. If you don't like it, you don't have to get it. Imagine that. Anyways, moving on from there to Wingspan Asia. Stonemaier Games announced the newest expansion for Wingspan, which is Wingspan Asia, which they don't really have a box for it. They just have a picture of a card, so I guess it's really, really early news. We plan to reveal one bird card per month in the monthly Stonemaier Games newsletter. I mean, I guess you could really like Wingspan to that extent. I don't know if I'd care about one card per month in terms of that. But yeah, for those who like Wingspan, which is, I think, 1 million plus people, this is a new expansion to Wingspan. The 1 million plus, for reference, is the fact that Wingspan announced that they had crossed 1 million copies sold, which is like a huge benchmark in board games. Not many board games hit that number. Anyways, next up, we have Roller Coaster Rush. There's no picture. There's the picture. Roller Coaster Rush from Pandasaurus Games. This is a new Pandasaurus game. They continuously put out multiple games per year that are very compelling. This is from Scott Alms, which already has me more interested. It's about roller coasters, which has me more interested. It's from Pandasaurus Games, which means I know it'll be good. The question for me is just whether it'll be great. Pandasaurus Games, like a lot of their games for me, don't actually stay in my collection. But they're always good, and some of them are great. I have some of their games in my collection that are really, really solid. But either way, Roller Coaster Rush, we'll see what happens with this one from Pandasaurus Games. Intrigued by it. It's a fast-paced card game where you and 5 friends design, build, and ride roller coasters. That sounds cool. I like roller coasters. I like amusement parks. We'll see what happens. Then we have Let's Play Tiny Towns. This is something I announced last week. Again, more deja vu. I announced this last week that this was happening over on Facebook. AEG was doing a Tiny Towns playthrough. I was part of that playthrough. The part that's more interesting for you is there was a conversation about Dead Reckoning in there. If you want to see a few questions and answers about Dead Reckoning, Dead Reckoning Letters of Mark is the upcoming campaign. That's going to be going live August 9th. So if you want a chance to dive into more Dead Reckoning, and or if you want Letters of Mark, and or if you don't care, you can check out this interview, or just check out the sign-up page for Dead Reckoning Letters of Mark. I don't actually know if there's a sign-up page yet. There may or may not be a sign-up page for Dead Reckoning Letters of Mark. Then we have Galactic Renaissance, from the designers and publishers that brought you Inish. Basically, Matago and the designers of Inish are pairing up for Galactic Renaissance to continue the trilogy of the political side of the area control arena. I don't know exactly how they're splitting this series, but it seems like they're going for a continued series of Inish with Galactic Renaissance. I have no idea. It's gonna be called the Political Trilogy. So basically, they're taking the Inish, Cyclades, and Kemet trilogy and splitting up Inish into its own political trilogy, which has me very confused about the whole quadrilogy, trilogy, pentology. I don't know where we are with this. All I know is I absolutely 100% will be playing this game. Whether or not I like it is a different story. I kind of expect to be disappointed by this because Inish is one of my favorite games of all time. It's like my second favorite game of all time, maybe my third favorite game of all time, might be my third favorite. Inish is amazing. I love Inish. I love, adore, Inish is amazing. It is. It just is. I'm sorry. It's amazing. But that also means that I have high expectations for Galactic Renaissance. I just, statistically speaking, I don't see it beating that. I am 100% interested in this, 100%, and it may stay in my collection. Going back to Yucatan versus Kemet. I like Kemet more than Yucatan so far, or at least based on my plays so far. I do think Yucatan has a place in my collection, but I need more time to ultimately see whether it has a place in my collection or whether it stays in my collection permanently. Permanently is a loose term, nothing's ever permanent. I just mean longer than your average game might stay. I'm very intrigued by the Galactic Renaissance. I will 100% be getting my hands on it in one way, shape, or form. If they send it to me, great. If not, I will buy it. I don't care. It is the spiritual successor or the political trilogy to Inish. But I also don't think it'll work for me. It's just stats. I'm sorry. It's just stats. The nature of, this is why sequels are always a letdown. Because if the first movie was so good, what are the chances that the next movie is just as good? It's usually not the case. Unless you're talking about Shrek 2, in which case it absolutely is the case. Shrek 2 is amazing. One of the best films of all time. Better than Shrek 1 by far. I should watch Shrek 2 again. I don't know where these conversations go. Next up, we have a empty tab. What's on my list? I have Galactic Renaissance and then Clank Catacombs. An empty tab is not part of the plan over there. Clank Catacombs. Clank Catacombs is the next announcement and the final announcement in our game news. We have Clank Catacombs announced from Direwolf Digital. They are doing a new standalone version of Clank. So if you want more Clank, there's a new standalone series of Clank. Clank for me never really worked for me. I enjoyed it. I always enjoyed it. I played Clank in Space. I played Clank Legacy. It's always been good to me. It hasn't been great to me, and I love deck building. It's just, for whatever reason, it doesn't click with me quite as much. I'm going to be tempted by Clank Catacombs. There's no question I'll be tempted. Whether or not I sign up for it, that depends on how tempted and all that stuff. But it looks fun. Looks fun. Looks cool. We'll see. Who knows? Time will tell. And we're going to go ahead and close up the news segment part of this video. Let's go ahead and hit end recording. Close up my laptop over here. And then go ahead to the next part of the conversation, which is the topic of the week. Topic of the week. And by the way, this is set up over here because I played it yesterday, and it's delightful. I love Cthulhu Death May Die. We're currently going through the campaign again over on Twitch, Camp Co-op. Link down below. Rena and I are playing through it. 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Wednesday. We are continuing another episode of this. Well, when we're both in town and available and could do it. So next week, yes. The week after that, probably not. We'll figure it out. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into this. Starting off with topic of the week. Topic of the week is a small topic, although I say that and then manage to talk for 10 minutes anyways. I decided this a while ago. Actually, a year and a half ago is when I decided to do this, and I just never really executed on it, and I decided I want to start executing on it now. I want to start a Q&A series of videos. Not like a Q&A back and forth where I do a live Q&A, but almost like it's just a generic reference to quick, short videos that are 1 to 3 minutes in length that answer common things that come up. Common things are all over the place. Let's just give one example. Someone might say, I'll get a comment to my video that will say something along the lines of, good video, but it would be great if you had more board game pictures. I'm using the polite comment. Those comments come in multiple forms, including hot garbage if you're not going to show the game, but in any variation thereof. And so at that point, I'd love to be able to answer that person properly in detail, and I want to do so with a series of videos. Not like a series of videos to that one thing, but a single video to each thing. So for example, I'll then just copy and paste a link from my list of videos, and I'll probably start some sort of reference. I don't know if it'll be a Board Game Geek list, something on a website. I'll probably have a referenceable place where you can just see all the Q&A videos. But I want to be able to go to that person and just be, here's a link. I totally hear you. Here's a link. At which point, I'll dive into a 2-minute video, which covers the fact that here's why I don't do clickbait yet. Here's my hopeful plans for the future about clickbait. All those conversations. And the questions, to my mind, will always be the same, but I don't mind updating the answers. So, for example, the video about clickbait, not clickbait. Did I say clickbait? Have I been saying clickbait this whole time? I mean B-roll. Have I been saying clickbait for the past 2 minutes? I don't know why. B-roll. The conversation around B-roll. Why you have more B-roll in your videos? So the person will say something like that, and I'll be like, hey, here's a conversation about B-roll, and here's why I don't have B-roll, and here's what I hope to have in regards to B-roll in the future. And that video will be updatable over time, so the question will always be the same. Why don't you have more B-roll in your videos? And then in the past, let's say if I go back a year ago, the answer would have been, I just don't have the time, the bandwidth, etc. And if I do it right now, the answer would be, I don't have the time, the bandwidth at the moment, but it's something I'm working towards, something I'm hoping to add, and just nuanced answers that are 1 to 3 minutes in length. I don't want them too long, I want them absorbable, that kind of address common questions whenever they come up. Those questions could be something I haven't answered in the past. It could be something you don't know and you want to know more about. It could be something that shows up in video comments here and there whenever it is. And again, my goal is to have both things. I'll be able to have a quick, easily referenceable answer so I don't have to type something out a million times each time. Also, video does more for translation than text. And then also, I'll be able to have a general reference point where you can find out more. And the questions could be anything. The questions could be like, hey, what's your video setup? What gear do you use? I'm glad you asked. Here's the gear I use. And by the way, I can reference, hey, this video, I'm going to be updating it, or I'll put a note like saying, hey, this video's a little out of date. I hope to update it. Or I could actually just go ahead and update the video and just put something new in for the answer. It could be anything. It could be where do you get your t-shirts. Yeah, I get these from T-Turtle. The great site. I'm not sponsored by them. I just like their shirts a lot. In the winter, I tend to wear sweaters down here. The basement's a little cold. The basement's my studio. In the summer, it's, you know, it's T-Turtle all the way, almost all the time. I just like their shirts. I like their graphic designs. It's just that kind of thing. What's your favorite game of all time? Hey, great. I'm glad you asked that. I'll go ahead and give you a quick few answers. My goal with this series is to not answer every single question that ever came up. My goal is to kind of have a mental observation around the questions that do tend to be repeated, as well as, and this is the fun part, as well as the fact that any question I just want to answer. Meaning sometimes there'll be a question that only one person ever asked, but I'm like, that's a fun question. I'm going to go ahead and answer that because I just want to get into it. And so that's the goal of this Q&A series. The goal is for me to come up with my own list of questions that I already know exist because they frequently are conversations. Do you take money from publishers? No, I don't. Do you oversell Command too much? I mean, depends on your point of view. Again, they're going into the general questions, whatever they are. And the relative part to you right now is, if you have any interest in having certain questions answered, by all means post them down in the comments below. Because part of what I'm going to do today, in general I'll have an awareness of questions, but today more specifically, or this video more specifically, I will have an extra level of going through the comments to find questions that I think are good questions and fun questions and entertaining questions to answer. It could be anything. Anything at all. I'll choose whether to answer it, but ask the question away. Like, as long as it's not intentionally offensive, like, I'll be fine with it. Intentionally offensive is like, you'd have to try. Like, just don't. If you're concerned that you're being offensive, I guarantee you I'm fine with it. If you're intentionally trying to be offensive, that's a different conversation. But I'll choose whether to answer them. I will try to answer them. And for me, it's just going to be a series of videos. I have to figure out where I'm hosting this and how I'm engaging with it and whatnot. They'll all be unlisted videos on the channel. And I'll try to make them unmonetized, I guess, because I don't want to spam you with an ad and to answer a 2-minute question. To me, it's just another project that's fun, another way to be able to address and answer and get to know more about me, and also to not always have to re-answer the same things when they come up. In any case, go ahead and spam away with your questions, because I'll take a look at the descriptions down below. Is the light green again? The light's green again. I need to fix the connection on the light behind me. It wavers between white and green if the connection is not solid. And with that, let's go into what I played. And from there into the weekend review. What I played. Starting off the bat with, there we go, Thursday, I think. I never remember when I filmed these, so it's always a question of exactly which cutoff day. And I say that every week. I need to start taking notes on when I film these. So, Thursday, we played Resident Evil. I played Resident Evil. This is more on Camp Co-op over on Twitch. I've generally been playing the Resident Evil every single Thursday. Happens to be today, which is Thursday for me. I skipped it today. I'm trying to catch up on some things. I had to skip it. But in general, every Thursday, I tune in for another episode of Resident Evil. Probably have like 7 or 8 more games, at which point I'll be done. And then moving on to the next campaign game, which you get to vote on, sort of, I guess. Then I also played Gloomhaven. 2 plays of Gloomhaven. Again, more Camp Co-op gameplays. A lot. Like, at this point, honestly, like, a third of my plays right now are shifting over to playing over on Twitch. So, I'm just playing the things I want to play anyway, just doing so on Twitch. Then we have Friday. Friday I played Tiny Towns with AEG. That's going to be the video I mentioned. Played Tiny Towns. I did horrifically bad. Horrifically bad. I screwed up so badly. I built a bunch of cottages, and I screwed up the placement of the farm, so I couldn't build any farms. So I had 4 cottages on my board that all scored 0 because I couldn't build a farm. It was not good. My strategy, I was trying to do 2 different things, and I ended up doing neither well. So yeah, that was Tiny Towns. Anyways, from there we have Saturday. Saturday I played Isle of Trains. I got a few plays of Isle of Trains in. Isle of Trains is the upcoming Kickstarter. We'll talk about that soon. Played it both solo and played it both solo and multiplayer. But Isle of Trains, it's I think it's a re-implementation of an older game. Then we have Cloudspire. I started diving into Cloudspire solo. I really am enjoying it. Loving Cloudspire. I'm so just generically happy about Cloudspire. It's one of those games, like many games, that remind me I should stop playing all the games and just play a few games instead. Then we have Codenames. Got in Codenames. Oh, that's right, because I did Codenames twice this week. Wow, Codenames is getting a lot of action. I got 3 plays of Codenames Duet in on Saturday, just playing with my wife and with my daughter, having fun playing that. Saturday was actually a light week for me, because I only played 5 plays, no 6, 7 plays, counting multiple plays. 7 plays of games, which is very light for me for a Saturday. Very light, but I got a lot of reading and rule books and rests and all that stuff. Then on Sunday I played Hearthstone 7 times, and you're like, Hearthstone's not a board game. I agree with you. For me, I do count certain things as plays when I'm logging plays, and board game adjacent things like Hearthstone, Slay the Spire, I do count them. You don't have to, but they go in my app, and So yeah, I'm just saying, I played Hearthstone a lot. I'm diving back into Hearthstone. Again, more camp co-op content. We're aiming for Sunday to be like digitally adjacent stuff, so we'll see how that goes. Then on Monday I played Inish, which is so good. I always love playing Inish. It's always fun to dive into it. In fact, we talked about this already with Galactic Renaissance, which I'll be disappointed by because of how much I love Inish. Inish was great. I played with 5 players. This is my second time playing it at 5 players, and the first time we played at 5 players was the first and only time we've ever had Inish ending in round 1. It was a bit crazy, but it worked. It was fun. This time, it did not end in round 1. It ended in like round 5 or 6. It went on. It was crazy. It was one of the craziest games of Inish I've played. Then again, I find myself saying that a lot when I play Inish, so maybe it was and maybe it wasn't. Then additionally, I played Kyperium, I think it's Kyperium. But either way, Kyperium, it's a 2-player game played on TTS, upcoming Kickstarter. We'll talk more about that when we cover that. Then we had, Tuesday was Gloomhaven. 3 plays of Gloomhaven on Camp Co-op over on Twitch. Again, going through that with Professor Meg. Wednesday was Codenames, like 8 or 9 plays of Codenames. It's, we're going through, this is again on Twitch, but not on my channel. This is over on Tim Riel, who does Codenames content every Monday and Thursday, I believe. Highly recommend watching it. Very entertaining stuff, and I really enjoy it. And in this case, we're currently going through a bit of a competition, a tournament to proceed round to round. So by the time you watch this, in fact, now that I'm thinking about this, by the time you watch this, I'll have done it again on this past Friday, and then if we won, which you may or may not know by now, then we'll be doing it again next week. Basically, it's 3 series, last man standing, multiple teams pairing off and slowly condensing, so we've made our way to round 2 by the skin of our teeth. It was insane. If you want to watch I don't know if you have fun watching people play Codenames and stuff, but if you do have fun watching people play Codenames, I highly recommend checking out the Wednesday stream of Codenames with Meg and I. It got crazy. It got crazy. Anyways, that was Codenames. Then Cthulhu Death May Die. Later after Codenames, sat down and played Cthulhu Death May Die over on Twitch. And then, later that night, went out to go play Cyberpunk 2077 again. Cyberpunk 2077, I'll have a review for it tomorrow. That'll be a fun little review. That should be in my upcoming stuff for the week, but it's not. Anyways, Cyberpunk 2077, I'll have a review for you tomorrow on that one. And that was another fun play. We'll talk more about that. That gameplay will be over on Quack Club's channel. You can check that out. And we'll have a review for you. We'll have a review for you on that. Which brings us to the weekend review. So, weekend review starting off with last Saturday. Last Saturday we had a review for Whirling Witchcraft from AEG. Solid game, really enjoyed it. I do consider it a lighter party adjacent game, but I really had a lot of fun with it. 3.5, solid, enjoyable, fun. It's the kind of game that I like and will keep for now. How long it stays in the collection is a question of how often it gets played, but I really did enjoy it. Then later on Saturday, we had a review for Xayah Legends of a Drift System, which I gave a 4 to 5 with the caveat that I need to play the expansion content, which I know makes the game better. Sure enough, I got a million comments that said, hey, the expansion content makes the game better, so I know I'm on top of it. I'll be playing it solo, I'll be adding in the Embers of a Forsaken Star, I'll be adding it all in. I will be playing through more Xayah. I really like Xayah. I think it's sticking around for a while, and specifically I think that the solo mode will help it really stick around for a while, but we'll see what happens there. So that was Xayah. Solid game. Really enjoy it. And then from there we have Sunday. Sunday was, speaking of Cyberpunk 2077, Sunday was a video of Cyberpunk 2077, the worst command campaign so far. Which is how I titled it, and then later that day I had someone point out to me, someone said, basically I titled the video, it was covering the Cyberpunk 2077 campaign, and I called it the worst command campaign so far. And someone's like, wow, command's really going to hate you for that video, and I'm like, why? It's like, it's hands down their worst performing campaign, it's not a conversation. He's like, you didn't call it the worst performing campaign, you called it the worst campaign so far. And it's like, well obviously I mean the worst performing campaign, what else do you think I mean? I changed the title, I added the word performing after. I legit only meant their worst performing campaign so far. I wasn't criticizing the campaign at all in the slightest. And you're like, no, Alex, don't take it back. We want you to criticize. Come on. I mean, I have and I will. I always will. But in terms of that campaign, I didn't have a criticism for the campaign. I just had I had an observational aspect that it is the worst performing campaign so far. And then a larger conversation around how we got here, and do I think it's the end of Command? I don't. Do I think it's the end of Command Kickstarters? I don't. Do I think it's bad for their numbers in the books right now? I definitely do. It's a good game. Wait for my review on Sunday if you want to check that out. But yeah, I like the game. And that was Sunday's video. Monday's video was Kickstarter and the State of the Unknown. It's a conversation around Kickstarter, around the State of the Unknown, and around backing Kickstarters. The interesting thing about both Monday and Sunday's video is in both Monday and Sunday's video, I had people on both sides of the spectrum basically saying, oh, I'm glad you're finally calling out Command and Kickstarters and companies, and then people on the other side being like, I can't believe you continue to take the side of Command and Kickstarter and companies and all these things. People really see what they want to see in these conversations. I guarantee you this. Here's what I'll guarantee you. I don't check with Command before putting out these videos. I have a friendly relationship with them. I hope I continue to have a friendly relationship with them. Every time I put out one of these videos, I don't know if I do. I don't know. I don't know if that's the time that Command stops talking to me. I hope not. I really like them, and I hope they like me. But I'm going to put out what I want to put out because I'm not checking with them. I don't have a paid contractual relationship with them. I just like them as a company. To me, that means there's a degree of sensitivity around these things. But I guarantee you that, for sure, the Sunday video, I guarantee you Kaman was not happy that that video existed. I guarantee you. There's no question in my mind. I didn't say anything about Kaman that could possibly be portrayed as beneficial to them. The videos would have... The question to me is, was the video not hurtful to them, or was it hurtful to them? It certainly wasn't beneficial. There's no question on earth that they wouldn't prefer that video to not exist. And yet there are people who still think that I'm doing this to defend them. To what end? If I wanted to defend them, I'd just stop talking. That would be the easiest thing to do. So, my goal is never to defend Command. My goal is to call things how I see them. Always and forever. If you like that, great. If you appreciate that, great. And I don't even, keep in mind, I'm not saying if you like it or agree with it. I'm saying if you appreciate the fact that I'm just going to say it how I see it, and we may not see eye to eye, and that's okay, then great. If you think I'm here to appease the companies, it's not going to happen. And if you think I'm here to appease the audience, that's not going to happen either. I do this channel, this is a larger conversation that wasn't meant to happen right here. I do this channel, I do this content because it's fun, and because I really like being able to talk on camera and just be me. The second I have to stop being me, the second I have to be someone else, whether for the audience or for the publishers, it's not going to be fun. And I took a large pay cut to do this. A large pay cut. My last job, the one I quit to do YouTube full time, I took a large pay cut to do this. I do it because it's fun, and I'm not going to do something that makes it not fun for me. Anyways, that was Sunday's and Monday's video. Tuesday was a few videos. We had Wild Serengeti, a review for Wild Serengeti. Gave that one a 3 out of 5. It was... I really wanted to like it more, but I will not play that game again, and I will never miss it. That's usually the 3 out of 5 category. But to be clear, I also don't think it was bad. That's why it's not a 2 out of 5 category. That's like, if you check my rating scale, it's all down below. Strictly speaking, it's numbers, but I have a meaning to each number in there. But yeah, 3, I will not miss the fact that Wild Serengeti was okay, and that's fine. I never need to play it again. Then from there, it's not a bad game. It's just, I'm not going to miss it. Then later on Tuesday, we had a, not review, more so much as almost a preview, really, for Snapship Tactics. I didn't get to play Snapship Tactics enough to call it a review. I think I called it first impressions, if I recall correctly. I did not give it a rating. What would my rating be for it? If I was giving it a rating, probably a 3.5 right now. I think Snapship Tactics was a lot of fun. Also, I don't know if I need to own it, except for the toy factor. I do want to own it for the toy factor. For the game itself, I just don't know. I enjoyed it. I'm happy to play it. There are elements of it that I'd miss if I didn't play it again. I currently hope to play it again, by the way. Currently, I hope to dive into it when the final game comes out and play it 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3, see how the spaceship battles are. I don't think it'll compare it against other skirmish games for me, and so I think it'll be a game that I enjoy, that I like, that I move on from. But also, I didn't play it enough to fully say that. And I want to be able to play it more different options before I review it officially. So yeah, that's Snapship Tactics. And then lastly on Tuesday, we had a review for Hansa Teutonica. Great game, phenomenal game. Really enjoy Hansa Teutonica. It is so clever. It is so elegant. Solid recommendation. It's a game that I played. I've had it in my collection for a long, long time. It's a good game. It's a good game worth checking out. From there we go to Wednesday. Wednesday, as usual, we had a live stream at 10 a.m., a Q&A going through a variety of things. I like my Q&As a lot because I don't often wade into controversial stuff. I'm willing to have a conversation about anything, but I don't like wading into controversial stuff for the sake of wading into controversial stuff. And Q&As I like because sometimes I get controversial questions in the Q&As and I get to answer them and have fun with it. And it's kind of buried in a less publicly available video. I recommend tuning into the Q&As, and there's fun questions that will pop up. But also I recognize the fact that they're an hour long and you may have to tune in for an hour to find that one question that's interesting. I don't know what to tell you. I will say that I think the last 15 minutes of this week's Q&A was... I don't remember exactly when, maybe the last 25 minutes. I think there were some more fun or interesting conversations around there. I'm not guaranteeing it's worth your time. I'm sorry, I'm just not. And then from there we have Wednesday. Later on Wednesday we had A History of Me Part 2. This is a continuation of just my backstory, my background. I'll have 1 or 2 more videos on this before I catch up to where I am now. Practically speaking, these videos don't do well, by the way. Practically speaking. I know that for a fact. In general, there's more conversational background stuff doesn't always do as well. But the people who do like it a lot, so I keep doing it. It's one of those weird things where there's some people who are like, I came here for board game content, you're not doing board game content. And I respect that. I totally respect that. There's other people who are like, no, I like watching your videos and I like to know a bit more about who you are. And that's great. So I'll keep doing them. There's 2 more to go. They're not going to clog the videos. I mean, there's plenty of other videos to watch either way. Honestly, if you made your way halfway through the week in review, you may be the kind of person who wants to watch those videos, so yay. Then Thursday. Thursday was top 10 couples games. I did one of these videos a long, long time ago. This is me diving back into it, top 10 couples games, specifically with a gateway focus to them. I will be doing more in this line with a medium and heavyweight. I might combine medium and heavyweight. I don't know yet. We're going to see. Couples inherently also means two-player. The nature of this video for context, and it's always a balance because I don't want to say things a certain way, which means I'll say it now a certain way. But the practical reality is that many couples, statistically speaking, many couples who are into board games, one of them will be more into board games than the other. That's just a statistics thing. The chances of both being into board games, it happens, it absolutely does. But when you have a couple, you'll have one person who's, I like board games, yay me, whichever one it is, man or woman, I like board games, go me. And then they marry someone, or they already are married to someone who's like reluctantly willing to dabble in board games. To that end, a very common overlap is couples games and gateway games are a very common overlap. There's a very common aspect of, I want to play board games with the person that I love. They are reluctantly okay spending time with me playing board games. What's something that won't scare them off and hurt them? And so that's this list. That's the goal of this list, which is why it's focused on couples. As we move to medium and heavyweight, it's actually a little less coupley focused and a little bit more just two-player focused. I don't know what I'll title it. I might title it slightly like couples or two players, we'll see. But this one is more focused on couples because gateway two-player games are often very, very relevant to couples. And either way, these are 10 of my favorite picks, or 11 of my favorite picks, technically speaking. Then from there, that was Thursday. On Friday we had upcoming Kickstarters. Upcoming Kickstarters, a whole bunch of things coming up. We have Leviathan Wilds, we have Burn Cycles, we have Moonrakers, Majesty of Dragons, a whole bunch of upcoming campaigns. A lot of them that are very interesting, and some of them I'm definitely backing, others that I'm just interested in, but still trying to have self-control. And so we'll see, and that's going to be popping up. That was over on Friday. July's middle as far as campaigns. We'll see how it totally plays out, but as of right now, it's middling on the number of campaigns and the quality of the campaigns and all that stuff. Then today, that brings us today. Today we have, I forgot to write what we have today. I totally forgot to write down on my list. I have 2 videos today. One of them is going to be a review of Zombicide Roll and Write Gear Up. Okay, that's going to be one of them. The other one, I don't know yet, and I forgot to check before I did this video, so you're going to have to just wait and see what goes up later today. We'll see. We shall see. That's today. Then next week we have a few things. We have a Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be a review for that on Sunday, I hope. Probably, maybe it goes up Saturday, but I'm pretty sure it goes up Sunday. We'll see. Then additionally, we're going to have a review for Ignite later in the week. We'll have what we backed. What we backed is going to be me and Rena going through what we backed in June. I have games leaving the collection for June. A whole bunch of videos popping up this week of many videos. Which brings us to the games on the table. I only put 2 this week because honestly, I've been playing a lot more recently of repeat games because of the nature of the Twitch content and going through stuff, and I've been slowing down how many new games I play, which is probably not good for the piling up piles of stuff, but we'll figure that problem out later. In any case, we have Cyclades over here and Tainted Grail. Tainted Grail, I played it once, I've been meaning to dive back into it, then Origins happened, life got crazy, I started catching up. I really hope I can dive into it next week. I really want to. And then we have Cyclades, which over here is a game that we are hoping to play this weekend. We'll see if it does. It's been a while since we played Cyclades, and I always love it when I sit down and table it, so I hope I can. And that is your week in review. That's all the stuff. We're going to call it a wraps over here. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, have a good one.